It's Hey Texas Week, baby. We're going to talk about that and a few other things here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up. Y'all know Coop. I'm Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Let's give us 5 anyway. And gifted. So, on today's episode, me and Coop's gonna have us some fun because it's Wednesday and y'all know exactly what it is, right? It is Hate Texas Week, right? Because it is the Red River rivalry, showdown, shootout, whatever you want to call it, SEC style, 2:30 Central Time, because Central Time is the only one that matters. And we actually get some prime real estate in the television sphere. So, Coop, happy Wednesday. How's it going, man?
Man, I am pretty excited about today. Today is a good day, my friends. And why is it a good day? Because we get one more day. You know, I feel like this season's going by fast, bro. Like we were just talking about, talk season finally being over, and now we go. We
are here, and we have arrived. So now we get to just talk about the middle point. We're past the bye week. Bodies are getting healthier. We're now able to, get started on the weekend. How you feeling about this game? Let's just open with that.
Man, you go through and you look everywhere, and you can go through all the stats. You can go through all of the, everything. And all you got to do is say, like, it's OU Texas. Like, it really does not matter. We've seen so many stats here, there, everywhere over the past couple days. And, but it's these two teams get down out there to play. And that's, it sounds completely ridiculous, but that's where the game's decided. It's not decided by the previous 5 games or the games after this. It's show up, showdown, and it's just different than anything else anywhere else. I know that there's always been the big thing. Is it Michigan, Ohio State? Is that the biggest rivalry? Is it the University of Georgia versus the State Highway Patrolmen? That's a different rivalry. Or Alabama, Auburn, and OU Texas is just different.
It is, and that's the fun part about it, right? I've talked to a few Texas folks about it, and I said, "Hey, how's the reception been with SEC people?" And they're like, "Nah, they don't understand. They still don't fathom it. They don't fathom the environment, the atmosphere, and what the game is like." I'm like, "Okay, we'll have to see if it was possibly them coming down and actually being there and experiencing it for them to feel, what everything's like." So I don't know. It don't matter at this point. I guess the big question too is I have one just kind of just out off the wall before we start talking ball. How exactly is Kirk Herbstreit going to make it to the game to call it?
Was it Herbstreit or was it Fowler?
It's Herbstreit, if I'm correct. Okay. That's supposed to be on the call for this game. And let me go check real quick. I'm going to verify under Callaway. My boy Callaway always has it. Josh Callaway, there he is. Gosh, dog it. I'm getting Call of Duty instead. Shout out to Kyler Murray, who got that nice little endorsement deal with him. Got that endorsement deal because everybody was, trolling him, and now he got a bag out of it. Shout out to him.
Okay, so
Fowler is play-by-play. Herbstreit's the analyst with Holly Rowe and Laura Rutledge, which I love. Laura Rutledge, she's dope. I actually like Holly too. A lot of people don't like Holly. I actually enjoy Holly, but it's kind of fascinating. Coop, how the hell is Herbstreit going to make it? Anything going to be at Oregon, Ohio State for game day?
Yeah, that's the game day, and then you got to book it. Because you're coming back across timelines too, right? So you get done what is it, 11 o'clock?
It's 6 a.m. East. It's 6 a.m. Pacific time when they start, which is, that's what, 9 o'clock our, it's 8 o'clock our time. So yeah, it's about that time.
So and
It'd be done about 11. Yeah.
And then he's got 2.5 hours to get to the stadium.
I'm trying to figure out how does that work. For real. Unless they plan on like flying him right into the fair and like dropping him off via parachute, how does that work getting through Dallas?
We'll see. I think it was a Tennessee game. I was going down because I was arriving right about the Walk of Champions. I think I got there right at 4:00, and there was a motorcade with, I'm assuming, maybe Holly Rowe. Somebody was in a big black Escalade, had 2 highway patrol up front, 2 in the back, and they were going down 35 right in the the I-40 area, and that was pretty crazy. So, I mean, I don't know if it's a helicopter. They're going to have a helicopter out there. I guess when you're big time like Herbstreit, you can get dropped in on a helicopter. So,
yeah, and it's funny because, like, just so y'all know, that I'm joking here with all of this. This is all jokes and funny because it's just funny that he's going to be in the West Coast and he's going to come to this game like right afterwards. I know he's going to have to leave mid game day, so he won't be able to do his picks at the 11. He'll probably leave around, I'd say, he probably only make it an hour out there because it's about 3-hour flight from Eugene, at least 3.5. So he's probably going to leave quite early from game day if he even goes. But no, I just think it's hilarious that they have him calling this game with Fowler while doing game day across the country. It's like, what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. Anyway, it is OU Texas weekend, man. I'm excited for the game to be here finally. Right, everybody. We got the Texas trolls in here. We've got Texas fans in here. We've got Texas trolls in here. We got Oklahoma fans in here. We've got a couple Oklahoma trolls in here too. They like to troll everybody. So I'm curious though, Coop, going into this one, Quinn's going to start. What do you feel about Quinn playing post-injury, post a few weeks off, against this defense?
Man, first, I want to give a shout out. First of all, Gabe and Teddy have Fozzie Whitaker, ex Texas running back on.
Yeah, he's gone on every year, hasn't he?
He is terrific. That guy, he's much better than Acho. But he does a great job. And he was talking about how Quinn could have probably played Mississippi State game. He might not wanted to get hit or anything like that. But man, Quinn's been around for quite a long time now. He knows this offense, pretty dadgum well. And so it's not game plan or scheme or anything like that. And I think it might be somewhat of an advantage for Quinn to sit out and watch some stuff going on because that I think that makes a dedicated film watcher. It makes you a better player, and so
yeah, I agree.
So I think that with that being said, how does the rust play? Because there's a difference between practice speed, there's practice between game speed, and there's practice between this type of game speed. And so, how do you kind of get him into a little bit of a rhythm early on? Sarkisian, he is great. Offensively, he can give you so many different looks. And, they talked about it on Oklahoma Breakdown with a lot of that that trip set. And I think that you want to get them into a little bit of flow. So is it throwing some throwing out wide, throwing out to some of the receivers, getting those tight end screens. They're a really, really good screen team. So I think that's a way that you can get in. Now that being said, having rust and coming in and experiencing some setbacks early, that's hard to overcome because now you're thinking everything through way more than you should. So it's going to be a key to the game is how does that take? Also, Quinn is a competitor, and Jay, he's going to take off if he gets the opportunity.
Yes,
and if
he's going to lay it all out there.
Yeah, if that that abdomen, that midsection is still tender at all, you're going to see him, maybe not take the, as many yards as possible and maybe take a slide a little bit earlier. So does that come into a play? But it's any football player says, after an injury, all you need to do is get out there and get that first hit, and then you're kind of ready to roll from that point.
All you need is one quick hit, and that gets you 100% going. All right.
Yep.
I know the energy is going to be I'm so sad I'm going to miss it. I'll unfortunately have to work this weekend, fly out Friday night, and I'll be watching it with a whole bunch of people on Saturday.
Well, now, timeout for everybody on the stream. Jay's entertaining folks in a little place we have to call Las Vegas.
Yeah,
so
I'll be at the sports book the entire time. What's funny, it's because it's a big convention that we throw every year. We'll have people from all over the country. So there's a couple of guys that will have their clients watching. I've been told about watching the Tennessee game. Some folks that'll be watching the Oregon-Ohio State game. And so I'll just be jumping around from area to area watching the games with everybody at the books. But we've got to talk about this injury report. We're not going to talk about me. I don't worry about me, what I'm doing. Just know that I ain't going to be able to be here to enjoy it like Coop is. We're going to talk about this injury report. But first, word from the sponsor. Shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring this video. Prize Picks is the most fun I've had playing daily fantasy sports this football season. All you have to do is select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, place your entry, and they're hooking you all up. Sign up with the code UNFAIR, and they will give you $50 instantly when you place your first $5 lineup. You don't even have to win in that lineup. You receive the $50 bonus because it's guaranteed. And so I tried out this past weekend with Cam Ward, took him at 300 plus passing yards, took the more. And then I looked at Dylan Gabriel, who was like 282.5. I took more on that too. I didn't hit on Dylan, but Cam Ward did come through with over 400 yards passing. And so you can do that too. Prize Picks makes it very simple to play. All I got to do is make my picks, submit my entry in less than 60 seconds, and boom, we're in. And y'all know I do stuff last minute. And they also have weekly promotions like Taco Tuesday, where, they hook you up with like a 25% discount on some of the player projections, which gets you even more value. So you got to check them out, especially with the next set of professional seasons coming up. So check them out. Go to prizepicks.com and use code UNFAIR to receive a guaranteed $50 once you play your first $5 lineup. Again, check out Prize Picks. Prizepicks.com. Use promo code UNFAIR to get that bonus. Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. So, Coop, we got some nice news going into this game. Thank y'all for pulling up. Of course, the wide receiver room is still a little, meh. Standard 4 guys are out. Gentry Williams out. I don't expect to see Gentry this season, unfortunately. I think when he fell on that shoulder that second time, he's going to have to probably have something else cleaned up there. But we don't see Taylor Tatum, Deshaun McCullough, or Tyler Keltner on this list. How you feeling about that?
I mean, the weapons are the ones that you want. The Deshaun McCullough, that's just something bonus. Pretty excited with him to be able to come in and to finally get some play time. He had the issue with the foot, and so now that's been a tough deal for him because he's been wanting to get out there. Keltner, now you've got the 2 kicker situation, so you feel good about that because this is a game to where you're going to need to pretty much be blemish free on special teams. And but you get a weapon in there with Taylor Tatum, and so there's been some funky reportings around about Taylor Tatum, and so I always just ask people, hey man, if you hear something about OU player injuries on TV or radio, hit it up the old Twitter. Your familiar friends to go ask questions to, and wait until you hear something about that. Especially right before the injury report comes out. It's kind of a silly thing. So, but that being said, Taylor Tatum's a big piece because I think that he gets some pretty good chemistry with Hawkins, and he adds another piece that you got to kind of pay attention to. It reignites that 2-back set that you can go use. So, no receivers, guys. I mean, I'm just going to say this is, I don't expect to see Deion Burks this week. So probable, doubtful, questionable, alphabetical, whatever is whatever on the injury report. I just don't expect to see him.
Yeah, right now I don't either. It kind of saddens me too. I was really hoping to get Gentry back out there, but it's going to be fine. I think this defense is up there at the top tier, and it's going to be tough. Both these coaches are tacticians in their role, and they of course always give each other praise. So I'm sensing that it's going to be big, right? We expect to see some Jacoby Johnson hurt that they've got some things ready for him to be able to get out there. So him and Taylor Tatum, it's going to be the youth movement for us. Now we do need is for the young players to execute. But I got a question here. I like this from T Boomer. This is actually a good one. Do you think the refs is going to let us play football Saturday? Look, SEC refs are going to be there for this one. So my anticipation is that they're not going to be high levels disrespectful like we're used to with Big 12. Well, the funny thing is Big 12 refs always struggled in this game anyway because they had to decide, do we call the penalty on them or do we call the penalty on them? We hate both. What do we do? I don't know. They were struggling. They ain't going to be struggling like that here, right? I actually expect the refs to let us go out there and play some ball. So since it's going to be a good one, but I'm glad to see that we're going to have McCullough back. Because McCullough had a big game against Texas last year. And at his length, height, arms, his ability to play, and if they have him out there rushing, he could be a very nice wrinkle added to what this defense is going to do. I think Zach Alley's going to have some stuff dialed up with him and BV as they really try to make sure they get into the head of these players. Because the big thing for me is when it comes to Quinn and that injury is once he gets hit once, he's going to be thinking about it. Because we don't love tap. We try to level. And we've seen that this entire season. I mean, we saw the pressure we put on Nico. If we would have capitalized on that, we'd be undefeated, but we won't go there right now. But I do see bright lights in big games from Tatum as well as Hawkins together. Because I don't know if Texas knows what we're going to do in this game. I think that's the one thing that's kind of different in this. It's everyone's, looking at how putrid our offense has been overall. Sure, we looked better against Auburn. We've gotten better week over week, as you've mentioned before, which I really, really, really appreciate. But does anybody even know what we're going to do on offense, really? Like, legitimately? To be honest, no. It's that stuff under lock and key. They got a little scouting. If anything, I talked to my guy Jonathan Davis over at Locked on Longhorns. We did a crossover show that's going to premiere tomorrow. And his idea is for them to treat Hawkins like he's Jalen Milroe. Kind of a fascinating thought if you really think about it.
I mean, that's one guy has, done a lot of cooking, and one guy just found out where his apron is in the kitchen, per se. So,
true.
But yeah, I mean, they've got good playmakers. I mean, you don't want to take anything away from what Texas has done defensively yet at this point. I don't think that there's been. They haven't faced an offense that has had any similarity to the word good yet. Right. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey man, we're walking in with a prolific offense right now. But at the same time, you had Michael Hawkins being inserted in as a starter for the first time ever on the road against Auburn. You got to think that the expanded playbook was not something that was going to be used. You throw in a new piece like Jacoby Johnson, you get Taylor Tatum back. And so, if you're Texas, what do you know? You do know that OU has not done anything to make you terrified of them throwing them over the top. So it's going to be more of what this offense has done is that Texas is going to dare you to throw the ball up over the top. If you do not loosen them up, they can play in that 15-yard, 20-yard bubble, and they're going to be able to run some spies, and somebody's always going to have eyes on Michael Hawkins. So, yeah, expect that, because I mean, it's whereas Michigan, I think, was drastically one-sided,
one-dimensional,
on
completely
offense.
one-dimensional. Period.
Absolutely. You could line up and do that. But I mean, there's also just a little bit more moxie in Michael Hawkins versus the Orgy kid. So it's going to be, again, like I said, this is one of those games to where you can, you throw all the stats in, everybody is going to look at everything up to this point, and most of the time, none of that stuff makes sense. So now, also on defense, Texas is going to be scheming up a lot of stuff for the Oklahoma defense. And I'm pretty sure that there's going to be, you've got anything from, that 4-2 front to the 3-3 front, a 3-4 front now with this Amakola out there. So there's going to be a lot of stuff. And again, lastly, this is now game 3 in a row where this offensive line is playing together. So we're hoping to see. A good game. No, again, I'm pretty sure that the Texas faithful would love to see, a beat down. But as far as everybody, what we want is, it was an actual game, because, I mean, Texas fans. I mean, what does it prove? Does a beat down help you feel better about your team? Because by all accounts, all I'm hearing is Oklahoma's not any good. So
it really doesn't do anything for you. To me, I just want to, like I said, I just want a good game. I want it to be competitive. I want us to be able to enjoy it. I want it to go down to the wire like it traditionally does. If it does that, I'm Gucci. You won't hear any complaints out of me. And I think that we can pull that off. I don't think that it's going to be just so easy as everybody's trying to make it. I think it's going to be a game that's going to be tough on both sides. We've seen this every single time we play each other, for the most part, right? It's usually something that's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going for. Now, I mean, this is one of Texas, best teams they've had in forever. I mean, last time that we played against them with significant injuries like this in one of Texas' better teams was 2009. The game, it ended up being 16-13. Texas couldn't do anything. Oklahoma was running, but we were dealing with so many injuries that we didn't play very well either. And yeah, that team played the Natty.
Yeah.
It was a close game, right? So, and that Oklahoma team ended up 8-5 because of all the injuries. That was when Sam Bradford went down. We lost like 6 offensive linemen. Right. Jermaine Gresham, your best tight ends, out. A ton of them went down. So for me, it's going to definitely be a competitive, fun game. So I'm pretty excited about where we're going to go. Defense-wise, I'm curious to see what this Texas linebacker room is going to look like. I've been hearing all this about them. I'm really curious to see if the Texas, actually front 7, is going to be as good as advertised. Because to me, I haven't seen them tested, like, at all. Like, people talk about Michigan. Michigan lost so many players, and a lot of them hit the portal right after Harbaugh also left. Got guys drafted, got guys in the portal. You're replacing a whole bunch of staff. They had a whole bunch of things they had to figure out. So, yeah. I don't know.
And listen, I'm going to sit up here and say, like, I still thought that Texas was going to struggle with Michigan, because if you take into account that they still had some of the best guys on the back end to that defense, and then, that defensive line was supposed to be just as good. I mean, they have not looked good at all. And I know that as far as passing, I mean, they're in the upper 100s in passing defense. And, I mean, they are not very good at all. And I don't know what it is. Maybe, because again, if your offense is struggle bus, like theirs is also, you continue to be on the field. Eventually, I mean, guys who are super draft eligible are, they're not going to have that strain. And so that's one thing that I'm glad that I have not seen out of our defense yet is that our guys continue to play as long. I mean, that Tennessee game, how many times did you and I look at each other and say, like, all right, now this is about to, they're about to quit trying right now because it's not even, there's no reason to keep pushing and keep straining. And they were. So, I mean, I'm very, very, very thankful for the bye week for our defense to get a break. But yeah, I mean, I want to see what happens, on their defense, because that's the matchup that if your defense is really this good and our offense is really this bad, there's no excuses, right? There shouldn't be explosive plays. There shouldn't be scoring. There shouldn't. There just shouldn't. And so
that's fair point.
We'll get a chance to see it. I mean, that's why they play the game.
It's exactly why they play the game. So scheme wise, I you know what's funny? I think the one player on our defensive side of the ball that I'm really, really intrigued in seeing in this game, probably will surprise you, is Robert Spears-Jennings. He's one of the highest rated safeties in the country right now. I think he's like number 4 in defensive players in general as far as grades. And he is balling this year. Like, he's getting to the point where he's being mocked to some nice spots as far as his draft stock right now. And I'm really curious to see how he goes out there and commands the defense. I mean, when they have him blitz, we watch him go out there and he makes it rain because he does a great job of timing his blitz through the guard and the tackle and level the quarterback. And then of course he likes to also create turnovers. That's what I'm curious for, because that was one thing I looked at when I watched the Mississippi State game, and Jaden Blue came out for Texas because he fumbled the ball twice. And we're very opportunistic on turnovers. We forced 8 this year, one of the tops in the country in margin at 11. If anything, the key to success in this game is going to be muddying it up and getting turnovers again. We got 3 last year. I can totally see us getting 3 again. I mean, as safe as they want to be, I think we can cause some turnovers. What do you think?
Well, it depends on, when you're running the front that we run, whether it's the 3-3 or whether it's the 4-2, Brent Venables is always going to keep pretty under wraps, like where the pressure's coming from. And you see Bowman and you see Robert Spears-Jennings, you see whoever's at the cheetah spot. Those guys are always, you don't really know. Is it middle coverage? Are they going to drop back deep? Are they coming on a blitz? And I will say that Brandon Hall has done an absolute terrific job with designing that, because, before Dolby got hurt, you saw him do it over and over again. You've seen Sammy Omasigo do it a few times. You've seen RSJ hit it. And it seems like when those guys do get home, I mean, it's not seen very well, because they're usually getting home and they're usually, knocking the bejesus out of the quarterback. So, that's going to be a big thing. Is I think Oklahoma has to win the turnover battle, and it's got to be by more than 1, for this game to go the Sooners' way. I don't think that you can go create 1 and give it up 0 times, kind of like Auburn. I think there's just too much strain. Obviously, Texas has a stronger offense than Auburn does. And so, but the thing that I do wonder is, when you typically have, Texas is pretty spread out. They get a lot of production from a lot of different guys. And when you're that spread out, like, who's the, getting down to grind time, like, who are you going to? And
who's the go-to guy?
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that is going to be a question that has to be answered at some point throughout this game.
That's true. And that's we got to figure out who that person's going to be. For Texas, not to advertise for them, but their wide receiver room, coming with all those transfers, they've done solid. And that's really usually tough, is building that instant rapport, in which, of course, we're seeing it now. We're playing a whole bunch of young wide receivers instead of us, being able to play a whole bunch of transfers, because most of them have been hurt. And of course, Truth says over here, anybody but Cook. So it sounds like the guy that their recruit is not one that they buying in on. It usually is tough bringing in a bunch of wide receivers and getting them to really, truly buy in. I think Ole Miss, in a way, did it, but they still ran into some problems. And now they're trying to get to that point, but all of their wide receivers have actually done well. But at the same time, I mean, again, Michigan has a solid defense overall, but their offense did nothing but leave them on the field the entire time. So it's not like it's, that big. But Texas defense forced a lot of, plays that Michigan didn't want to do. Michigan wants to run it down your throat. And if you can't run down someone's throat, you ain't got no chance in their game, which they showed that against, USC. You have to be very careful with the ball. And the question is how careful can Texas be in this game against us when our entire goal is to force a mistake and get a turnover? I think we have opportunities there for that, especially once you start looking at who each have played in comparison, right?
And, I will say this also, the tight end is going to play a big role for Texas this year too. Last year you saw Jatavian Sanders, he was a little dinged up. Billy rocked him at the goal line, and he really wasn't the same after that. Is it Gunnar Helm? He was really, really big in that Michigan game. If I'm not mistaken, I think he was the leading wide receiver for them in that game. And so, the one that I really, really like is the freshman Moore. He's a guy who looks like he's going to be a problem down the road. He's been putting up some production. I think one of the last couple games he had 2 touchdowns in the game. So he's one that you want to see. I think that when Quinn went down, I think the very next play Arch hit him, and he made himself, a runner and got into the end zone. And I think he may have had another one later in the game, but they've got it all over the place. I mean, they've got weapons to use. I think that is it Golden or Bolden and Isaiah Bond. Those guys are all. Mm-hmm. They're all going to be equal opportunity guys that you're going to try to get the ball to. And so, we've seen some of the outside throws against Oklahoma hasn't done very, very well. And in more often than not, there have been negative plays versus, successful plays. So how does Sark scheme up that without, making sure that you have adequate blocking, making sure that you do it in a spot to where the box favors you. That's going to be some of the RPO stuff, because that's going to be a game that the Oklahoma defense has to play very, very well, is the RPO stuff.
So who's the player you think for us that needs to really show out? Who's the one that's got to jump out in this game for us to see some success?
Man, I'm going to continue to say, it's going to be, I can't say one guy, because I'm going to have to say the linebacker core. It's going to have to be the linebackers, whatever rotation that you have out there, because I think that with the RPO stuff, you cannot bite too hard and then leave a decent 15, 20-yard gap between the safety and yourself. You saw it in one of the first plays of the game last year. Jaron Kanik was the leading tackler for our team last year in the Texas game. And that first series, they try to run a slant. Jaron dropped right where he was supposed to. Quinn double clutches, and when he double clutches, Gentry jumps the route. And I think that's going to have to be the situation for the linebackers, is they're going to have to be very, very disciplined with their eyes to make sure that they are not overrunning stuff. If you can give any critique to the linebackers, it's been they've left yards on the field when they've gotten in the backfield, and instead of a 3 or 4 yard loss, it's a gain of nothing. Which those types of things can really, really turn the tide of an offensive play calling scheme, because 2nd and 14 is a little bit more of a tough task than your 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 9, which is just obviously remedial football. But those guys are going to need to, when they do have the opportunity to get through and make a tackle, make it. This team has done really, really great in gang tackling, and it has to be top notch on Saturday.
Yeah, it's gonna the tackling is gonna be critical, and I expect them to actually take this seriously. I think it's my favorite part about it. Right, this defense cares about how they perform in this game. This defense really has shown that it's of importance. Just about in every game, they want to bring the Clemson defenses and the early 2000 defenses of Oklahoma back to where back today. And, unfortunately, we traded defense for offense for a year. And so hopefully we can get this defense running the right direction that we need to, which we will. There's zero doubt in my mind that we will. But it's good to see that we have a defense that we can actually lean on and not just get destroyed every game because we struggle on offense. But I think this one's going to be the one where we have a breakout. Again, Hawkins has shown week over week improvements. The line is now healthy. That's what we also saw on that list. The only one on that list now is Gary and Hatchett, and he's done for the year anyway because we knew he had shoulder surgery.
Yeah.
Everybody else is back. It feels good. It feels real good.
It's
to be able to say we're not rotating centers. We're not going through 4 centers anymore. Coop. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels great because you also have a couple key reserves, and you're still waiting for some of these younger kids who've been in and out of the system, for a couple months. Guys like EPL or Isaiah Autry, these guys have been looking for their time to go, but it's hard to rotate a guy in and get him some play with some guys who know what they're doing if you are on your 13th, line assortment. And so, it's going to be, there's still, the things that we're going to want to see on the offensive line is how is Hickman's ankle? Is it up to par? Like, is he clear and healthy now? Jake Taylor was still, lumbering quite a bit, against Auburn. And so, that's hopefully now you've got this, and you got a lot of guys who are going to be at the game. I know that I'm probably going to be meeting up with a couple of the recruits, who are out and about, walking around, offensive line guys, and so I'm pretty excited to kind of hear what their thoughts are because now, like I said, this is 3 weeks in a row that you're playing with the same starting offensive line. So have they learned something together? Have they learned to communicate a little bit more by going on the road and playing on the road during in Auburn?
Pretty hostile environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. What lessons have you pulled from playing in a stadium with 80-something thousand fans, with at least, we'll say, just to be on the conservative side, and the number 75,000 of them are anti-Oklahoma, which is kind of funny. When I was there, you could tell that the Auburn fans had basically quit on their team because really lower bowl tickets were like $60 a pop. They literally were giving them away. And when I got there, the ones I got allotted and got initially were like nosebleed, in which we do the same thing to our visitors. They go straight to the nosebleed. And I was like, nah, I ain't sitting up here. No, can't do it. So I went on SeatGeek, looked at it. I'm like, oh, wow. That's a lower bowl seat for like $60 with fees. They were giving them seats away, Coop. They quit on their team. So because of that, I'm going to be nice and say 70,000. But at the same time, like you said, they played in a hostile environment. The question is, what is the continuity like in the communication in that situation? Because once you go into this game, once you get to half the field, you ain't going to be able to hear nothing. The other half, it's going to be like quiet. Oh, man. I'm sad that I'm not going to be there for that because that's just the best thing in the world. It's just that experience of being able to see the half and half. I really hope more SEC people come out and check this out. Just like it's one of those bucket list games you just got to go to. Just say you went. Just put it in your mind. Say, you know what? I'm going to do it. Because why? You need it in your life. You need to say that you've been there. Because I still want to go to the big game. I still want to go to Ohio State, Michigan. But the only problem is it's wintertime. I don't know how I feel about that, Coop. That's gonna be cold.
And cold doesn't bother me at all. I love the cold weather. I'm so excited to not have to wonder if I'm going to, 1-to-1 my adult beverages and water bottles, here soon. But I absolutely would love to go see it, except for the fact of I think you kind of have to be kind of emotionally invested in one of these games for it to mean that much. You're going to see it. You're going to see it, but because that's the only thing that I love this game. It's just something different. But that it's something that I've always wondered is like, what if you did a 2-year hiatus every 10 years to where you did OU down at DKR and 1 year and then up in Norman the next year. And don't know if financially the city of Dallas could afford that.
Oh yeah, no. That's a massive influx with not only the people coming there for that, as well as the fair itself. Man, that environment itself is just unreal and just fun. People love it, and so I'm here for it to stay in Dallas. I mean, it's been there 90 plus years, so we may as well. I mean, why change it now? At this point, we're stuck.
It was like when OU and Texas played. It was at 2018 and played in Jerry World for the Big 12 championship game. Like, it just felt like a different game. Like,
it didn't feel right.
It was just different.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. It just felt weird. Everything about it was like I felt like the energy was off in the Big 12 championship game.
And I'm not gonna lie, Jay. I mean, walking in public and being in big crowds are two things that I absolutely hate. Because I hate when people just, will be walking full stream and then stop and turn around on a dime. Like, oh wait, there's not 65,000 people around me. And but this is like the only time it doesn't bother me.
Really?
Only time.
Man, it was the struggle was real trying to get in for me last year. It was a battle. People the lines weren't moving. The renovations need to hurry up. Cuz I think they start them this year. I think is it this year? Is it after this bowl season? They're starting the renovations?
Don't know. Honestly don't know. Yeah, it's I couldn't tell you. But
let me see. Let me look. I actually pulled the article up. It's a 2-year, $140 million project, and they're adding all kinds of stuff.
I wonder if that price went up. You got to think it's north of like 175 mil now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be after the State Fair in Red River, and the plan is it to be completed by 2025 before the State Fair next year. So I think they start after this game, and then it should be done by next year, especially because the World Cup will be in North America in 26. And I think that's supposed to be one of the many venues that will be leveraged for the World Cup. So I don't know. Blake, this is a good question. Coop, what you think? Over, under 50 points?
Over.
Ooh. Why?
I'm
curious.
I really do think that, I think that this is going to be a pretty tight game, and I think that it's going to kind of happen like last year to where you have, both teams get 10 to 14 points in the last four minutes of the game. And so, I mean, if you're sitting at, let's say you're sitting at 2017 and then both teams go down and score a touchdown. If my math is correct, that would put you at 51, correct?
Yep.
So that's over.
Okay. I'm on the under. I am here with less here in this score range. 24-21 or less. I don't think I think clock is going to get ran. I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I am under the 50. It's going to be weird to see a game that's going to be that defensive focused, but that's what I expect.
I almost talked myself out of it. I mean, as I'm sitting here saying 20-17, so that means the game ends up 27-24, which is it's 51. I mean, so it's not like I think it's going to be 65.
You're close. Right.
So
that's in the range, so I'm not mad at it. That's actually a solid number area. That's a number area I would be comfortable with, but. Because is it still 50? Let me go. I'm pulling up real quick right now.
Yeah, while you're looking at that, Yeah, one of the what you got? You made
50 and a half.
50 and a half.
And it's dropping. He started at 51 and a half, so it's dropped a point so far, and looks like most of the bets are on the under.
Okay. So the money says that there's it's not going to be a shootout.
Yeah, we'll know on Friday heavily. That's when usually the sharps really drop, unless it's a line that they want to get on early. The sharps usually drop all their money on the games Friday because that's when all the injury reports come in that will tell you what you need to know. And yeah, I'm still calling under. I do like your score though. That would be a good one for us. I think if anything, the biggest thing next is in order to get into that score range, not only does the run game have to be established, I just think that Michael Hawkins needs to take advantage of the short pass.
Very much. Very much.
He's going to go deep. We know there's going to be some deep passes in there. We know there's going to be some of that. The most important thing, though, is get those passes underneath and keep moving the chains. If we can pull it like a Vanderbilt did where they literally just ran the clock down nonstop.
Yeah. I mean, what you have to do is if you say the offense, I mean, you can't get into a time of possession war to where it's close to 50% to Texas. Like, I mean, you're going to have to keep it damn near even or even in favor of Oklahoma, and you're going to have to make Texas, press in how do they handle that? The Mississippi State game wasn't entirely. Now, I know there were some turnovers there, but it wasn't. Was it 14-6 at halftime?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but they came out with their hair on fire against Michigan because I think. What was it, 28-3 or 28-0 at halftime? It was somewhere in that one. But yeah, 24-3 at halftime. So so you're gonna see because Quinn these games. I mean, he's got 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his 2 starts against OU, and he has 2 fumbles. One of them was on a scramble. One of them getting decked. He put the balls in harm's way a few times. So I mean, it's going to be a game to where, like I said, I think OU needs to win the turnover margin by 2. I think that when you do win the turnover, you have to do something with it. That's one of the toughest things. Is I was going back and counting possessions and how many possessions OU has played on defense through the first 5 games, and if you do not give the pick 6 that Jackson Arnold threw to the defense is giving up just over a point per possession. So if you give Texas 12 possessions, it's 12 points.
It's true.
Like that's but again, that's nerd mathery, but you're gonna have to do that, and it is when if you need to kick a field goal, you got to hit them. You can't be kicking a 40-yard field goal, missing it, and then letting Texas have the ball near midfield right away because now all of a sudden they've got some momentum and they want to go with it. And I know I texted this to you earlier, but the experience of their offensive line allows them to run a lot of different run schemes and a lot of different pass schemes. They're familiar with a lot of different things, and I believe that if you let them get comfortable with multiple different things, that's when they're the most dangerous. So it's got to be. You asked me my difference maker on defense is the linebackers. I think the defensive line is going to continue to do what they've been doing this entire year. Fozzie said he was excited to see our Mason Thomas out there, but I think those defensive tackles are going to be the ones. Do you allow the linebackers to get through and be free to do what they want to do? And that's what the defensive line has done this entire year. And that also means that the defensive ends, whether it's Woolard, Downs, or Mason, these guys are going to have to continue to play the edge and keep the edge set And when it's time to crash. When it's time to, stay wide, because there will be a lot of motion. And whether you play it on the video game or watch in real life, Texas is really, really good at putting somebody in motion, just sometimes eye candy, sometimes for a purpose.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what Sarkisian does. He likes to have players moving around on a regular basis, which is why he's been so good as, offensive mind in college football. So, yeah, no, that's going to be that's going to be interesting. All right, what's your final predictions, score? We'll wrap up a little early.
I said 27-24. I think I'm staying with that one right now. I think the guys do it. I really do think that you're going to see a couple of. I think you need, at least 3 drives of 50 yards plus, unassisted by the offense. They need to be able to do that, and I would love to see a pick six or a scoop and score type of a situation for the defense. That would help out too. But here's what I think is with Tatum playing, and you've got some more time with the wide receivers. You've got more capabilities. Nobody's going to be an 8-catch guy, on the day. And the moment that you get guys stretching left and right and over pursuing, I think that with some of your zone insert and some of your counter plays, you can run the ball effectively. Does an OU back get to 100 yards? I don't think so. I think Hawkins can get close to it, but I think the magic number for Oklahoma is they need to run for at least 160 yards to make this game winnable.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I'm still in the 24-20 range, low scoring, lots of defense, a turnover here and there in critical spots. That's going to help to propel it. I'm thinking that I don't think that our offense is going to have a problem driving the field in this game. A lot of people do believe that. I don't. There's been a few questions in here going to pop up. So Boom Time asks, so you think it'd be the same type of plays being called on offense, or does Seth bring something completely different? Me personally, I think it's going to be different. I don't think it's going to be the same look that we've been seeing this entire time. What about you?
Yeah, it's the exact I think when you have in Benji, you asked, when did the RPO get such a bad rap? RPO works when you see something, you pop up, and you make a decision. If it's never the right decision, then the RPO is just a cluster of people stumbling around. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's Man, I'll go with this. I think that Luttrell got more of his game plan in this past 2 weeks. I think that you get a chance just to sit there, work with Hawkins. He can take it. He understands the terminologies, and his dad is no slouch. Mike Sr. was a he was an NFL player, and he's been around a lot of offense, and he pays attention to that stuff. So I promise you that going in there for him, this is very going to be a very, very big deal for Michael Hawkins to walk in there with some of the opportunity that he has in front of him.
That's a good point. Blake asks, with some of the struggles we have passing, do you think a designed heavy package would help to keep possession time? No. I think it'll be a combination of quick passes. We're going to go deep like we did against Auburn. I know there'll be packages with Tatum as well as with Jacoby Johnson. I expect to see some of him. So it'll be a lot of stuff that we haven't really seen before. I sense that they're gonna get not only creative but not cute with it. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna get creative with the plays, creative with the movement. They're gonna let Michael do the things as let Hawk get comfortable on his own as well. I don't see that. I don't think that we have to go just with a heavy package to keep the time. I think if anything, you just got to just execute.
And heavy package works when your tight ends block well. And that has not been something that has happened up to this point. I think that you need to be pretty realistic with who Bauer Sharp is. Bauer Sharp is a good receiving tight end. And so we need to see more like what we saw in the long completion that the bad acting job happened on Roberts. You need to see him out in space with some space to run. And so I think that if you do see, the 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, I think that's going to be Yeah, the Starship to Destroyer package. I'd love to see that. Somebody's
We've been talking about that for a while.
Somebody's been running it. Was Ole Miss? I think Ole Miss has been running a variation of that. They've been handing off to like a 325-pound defensive tackle, and he's got like 2 carries for 2 touchdowns, for 2 yards. So yeah, want to see, love to see EPL and the jet sweep down on the goal line, but let's handle a HB dive correctly the first time, and then we can start getting tricky.
Yeah, that the Star Destroyer package is going to be interesting. I'm ready to see what that's going to be like. Just saying. Kind of curious to what exactly that is supposed to be. Truth asked a pretty good question. He said, let's say Oklahoma gets 2 turnovers, one on our end and one on your end of the field. How many points do you get off of them? Steven said 10. I can agree with that. I don't think the offense is going to be as anemic as you Texas fans believe, right? We've made a lot of changes over the last 4 weeks. Don't think it's going to be what y'all think it's going to be. It's not going to be just non-existent. I think the offense is actually going to move the ball on you all. Cool? Because we can actually throw the ball. Michael Shoney can throw it.
I think we have the opportunity. I mean, you're looking at 7 points. I'm not going to, here's what I don't want is I don't want us to get a turnover on, let's go with you guys are trying to go in a score. We get the ball at the 30-yard line and then we go 3 and out. Like I don't care for that. I mean, if you get 2 or 3 first downs and punt and just, reset the field, that's fine. And especially with Elzinga, if you have him kicking from the 40-yard line, and, that's it. I mean, that's what you want to do, but that's a tall ask. The ask, truth, is to not piss down your leg and do 3 and out and take 11 seconds off the clock.
Yes, the goal is to keep the clock running, and that's my expectation when it comes to us getting the ball off a turnover is running through the clock. And the good thing is, again, it should be a different look in comparison to what we had before. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, I'm out. I got to get up early in the morning. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Shout out to Prize Picks. Thank you for sponsoring the show. You can check it out. Link in the description below. Use our code UNFAIR and you will get $50 instantly on your first $5 lineup. For Coop, it's Jay. We will chop it up with all of you after Red River. Peace.